Hey, garden friends, today I want to talk about the benefits. The benefits, mind and body, physical and mental, of gardening. What they can do for you, and a few things you need to be aware of to get the most out of it. So let's get chatting. Yeah, have you ever walked into a garden you're wanting to visit, a garden center, or even like a walk through a park? Like we live near Big Tree State Park with the giant redwoods, and just had a feeling of calm come over you? Yes, that's one of the benefits of being in nature and that gardening can bring you is the stress relief. That is your cortisol levels dropping, and that has so many health benefits for you. First, let's tackle the physical. The physical benefits of gardening. Now we know gardening requires raking, shoveling, pushing a wheelbarrow, lifting, stretching, bending, all of those things. And those are movements that are beneficial for your body. The pushing of the wheelbarrow, the raking, and even some shoveling can be aerobic, get your heart rate up. And of course, that builds strength, stamina, and is just strengthens your heart in general. And just like any aerobic exercise would, but you have to be careful in moving, especially when you get older, like me. I turned 62 a couple of months ago, and be mindful of how you move. Be careful, lift with your legs, and don't overextend when you reach, or work within your bounds and build up to more strength so that you can do more. Now, I have to do that because every spring, because after winter, when I've been more sedentary, because I don't do as much physical exercise as I do in the summer, I have to pace myself and be aware of my limitations. Like with my weed eater, when I go into weed eat, the battery will only last 15, 20 minutes maybe. And that tells me I need to stop when it dies, take a break, do something else so that I don't end up hurting by the time evening rolls around. I used to joke around that when I used to clean houses, vacation homes, I used to clean 3 large homes in a day from top to bottom. And these were not small homes. These were like 2,500 to 3,000 square foot homes. And carrying the vacuum cleaner up and down stairs, all the things you had to do. By the time I got home at night or in the evening, I needed to have a hot date with Dr. Epsom, and that was soaking in a hot tub with Epsom salts. But yeah, with gardening and with maturing, you don't want to hurt, but you can build up stamina slowly from when you start, like in the spring, after being sedentary over the winter, and then you can work within your bounds. Now, also getting up and down. In some of my videos this last summer, you could hear my knees cracking. Well, that's arthritis. So I have a harder time getting up from the ground than I used to do. So I have things placed around the garden, like maybe a stump, or, I use them as like a pot to hold a pot of flowers up above the ground a little bit, or little stools or other things that can help me get up. I also have one of those folding garden benches that on one side, it sits low to the ground, and on the other, it's taller. When I have that, it has 2 handles on it. That helps a lot. I don't always remember to take it with me, and I really should. But the physical pluses outweigh the negatives. And if you take care of your movements, or are mindful of your movements, then it's all up. It's a big win. And you don't have to worry about hurting yourself. So digging, lifting, and things like that, which we do. We'll lift and carry a pot across the garden, or when we're shoveling. Those are weight-bearing exercises, which build muscle and strength. So that's a big win there for exercise. I was trying to think of all of them. Try to keep everything in mind. Well, with the stretching when you're reaching for things. And you can, if you're being mindful of how you're moving. You can actually exaggerate movements, etc., to get the most out of a workout, like do a lunge or do stretches throughout. Like I'll do a few body stretches like, you do in Pilates or yoga. And yeah, that can go far in keeping you limber and your muscles loosened up. So those are some of the physical. Another physical benefit would be you're out in the sunlight. So your body produces vitamin D from the sunlight. It only takes like 10 or 15 minutes being out there in the sunlight to get the benefits. That vitamin D can also help your heart, strengthen your bones. We all know or have read, like I'm assuming you have, that vitamin D, there's a big deficiency in a lot of people in this day and age, and they go out and take supplements. Well, if you're just out in the sun during the day, then you don't have to do that. Your body will produce it naturally. So I pretty much think that's most of the physical benefits that I'm aware of. If you have more, put them in the comments below. I'd appreciate that. But the mental, and we talked about walking into a garden center or walking in nature, that in itself is serotonin being released into the brain. That happiness drug, it elevates it. While your cortisol's going down, your serotonin's going up. And that's the well-being you feel. And for me, those of us who are plant-aholics or addicted to plants, just picking up a simple little plant to take home, that can give you a dopamine rush. The dopamine, because you know you're going to enjoy that flower later, viewing it in your garden, the hopefulness for the future, wherever you put that in your garden, can release dopamine into your system, which is the true joy chemical in the brain. It is a scientifically proven fact that bringing flowers into your home can bring that sense of well-being to people. And I wanted to show, now in here, I bring things in to bloom. So I have flowers in here. Flowers make me happy. I just brought this in. This is one of the cuttings that I did a couple months ago from my geraniums. I have several videos on propagating geraniums, but this is the cut. It's already blooming. This was blooming in my office on the light rack. I have some African violets that are blooming like crazy in my office. I'll show a few pictures of those. I'm trying to think where I show you. I had another one of my geraniums, but doing that. Well, this I picked up. This is snapdragons I picked up to put in here to enjoy in here. Now, I had some people ask me, do I heat the greenhouse when I'm not in it? And no, I do not. This is just, I would call a glorified cold frame, but it is enough protection from the outdoor elements that things that are cold hardy will go ahead and bloom and perform for me. Now, we this week and last week, we've had some pretty warm temperatures, and that's typical for February. We'll get what I call the fake spring, and then we'll go right back to winter. I'm hoping we don't get as much winter as we did last year in March. We got lots of snow in March. I'm hoping we only get rain, but whatever, we can get winter all the way through May. And that's why even though I'm a zone 8B, I can only plant out tender varieties of plants until after May is over. But anyways, yes, so having flowers to see, look at, oh, here it is. This is the pink one I did, and it's just getting ready to bloom. So seeing that, I had these on my light rack in the house, just because I wanted to see the blooms in there and enjoy. And I just brought them out here because my light rack is starting to get a little crowded, and I'm going to be starting more seeds soon. Now, I can't start tomatoes and warm weather stuff until a little bit later. But yeah, the one thing that helps with the mental benefit of gardening is the mindfulness of starting from seed, watching a seed germinate, start to grow, and you're tending it, and you're paying attention to what it needs by observing daily, the patience that it helps you to gain, because you have to have patience to watch that from a very small plant until it comes to bloom. And when it does, whether you start as something from seed, or like I derive such pleasure from starting a whole new plant from one plant, like these geraniums, and there's a whole new plant. That is just, to me, something that is amazing to do. I feel a sense of accomplishment is where I was going that. And when seeds sprout and I can put them out in the garden, I get a deep sense of accomplishment. So exposure to the microbes in the soil when you're digging, especially when you're digging down with a trowel, down close to the ground, you're weeding, you're touching the ground. The microbes have been shown to help elevate serotonin levels in the brain, and how that triggers that is a whole science unto itself. But that has been shown to bring up the happiness and joy level, as well as touching the earth. Now they're thinking that this is called grounding or earthing, that it may be the magnetic impulses or whatever it's called in the ground, in the earth, that creates the benefits that you can get from that. The benefits are actually reduces inflammation is one of the main things they found, which totally amazed me. And we have read, if you have, that inflammation is the main or one of the primary reasons for disease and different things. Inflammation is something negative. So anytime you can reduce that, it's a benefit. I mentioned about having flowers and plants indoors on my plant rack, especially in my office. Years ago, well, a couple decades now, I was told that I suffer from seasonal affective disorder, SAD, and that's winter depression. And it explained so much when I was told that. I had to look it up. I wasn't aware of it till that time, but I lived in the valley where we'd get weeks, like 6 weeks with nonstop deep fog where you couldn't even see anything in front of you. So it blocked the sun and sunlight. And the shortness of the daylight hours. This can really cause depression, and it's well known in the northern hemisphere, like up in Alaska and other places like that. They have special lights for helping people to deal with this, because they'll have super short days in midwinter. But the flowers and tending to plants and whatever can alleviate that. And I can say, especially the last few years doing videos where I'm out here in the greenhouse talking to you about plants and tending my plants, I haven't noticed struggling with seasonal affective disorder, even on the times when we've had a week long of nothing but snow. 2 winters ago, we had like 6 to 9 feet on the ground. That usually would make me nuts. But I was able to come out here, turn on my heat, and tend things. Even in the snow, I've got plants out here that are growing away, and I can play with them, so to speak, and help alleviate that anxiety and distress that I feel when winters seem to go on forever. So I don't know, the simple satisfaction of creating something beautiful, taking an idea from a spark of an idea all the way through to fruition, even if it doesn't turn out exactly as you thought it would. And I've had that happen many times. You have the working towards a goal, or creating art. Gardening is just another form of creative art, and you're painting with flowers instead of with paints. And yeah, to see all the elements come together, there's just nothing to compare to it for them. So if you've never designed and built a garden, I would say, and you don't even know how to go about it, first of all, I have a blog, flowerpatchfarmhouse.com, and I have like how to start gardening. I don't know if I've done a video. I should, for beginners. I know a lot of my viewers have gardened, know how to garden, and they're just here for extra garden talk, flower talk, or for tips and tricks they may not have tried before, and they share with me in the comments, and I love that. So anytime you feel that you have something that I would benefit from, please. I'm always learning, and that's another thing. You're always learning. Your mind does not get, lazy, because there's always something new to learn in gardening. And I'm very nerdy about it. I like digging into the science of it. And it's true, science changes. I wouldn't say science changes, the findings change. And so they're always refining what they know about the gardens and plants and all of that. In fact, even just it's been more recent that they've really been able to tell us why so many people are addicted to gardening and find such pleasure in it. So, and recognizing the physical benefits too. Yeah. Go ahead and start small. Let me look at my notes here. Stay engaged in the winter. So that can be, you could be planning. I have a garden planner, garden journal that it's for purchase, but you can download it. You can download as many pages as you want. It has garden planning pages. Go to my blog, my website, and there's a lots on starting a garden, starting seeds, propagation, all forms of propagation, whether it's root division, cuttings, root division, cuttings. What else is there? Tip cuttings, which there was a form of cutting. So other creative outlets as a part of gardening is like thrift store shopping for treasures that you can use in your garden. I have found little bistro sets. I have found sometimes I've passed things up. Don't pass them up. You will regret it. I have found pots. I have found tools. I have found, like, I got a bunch of spoons. I wanted to make a mobile, or what do they call, chimes with. Well, that's about all I have to share on gardening and the benefits, both physical and mental and emotional. Sometimes, even on my worst day, if I spend just 30 minutes in my garden, it can make all the difference in the world. When I worked full-time cleaning homes there, I didn't have a lick of energy when I got back. But in the summer, when I had daylight left, just going through the garden, doing something as easy as deadheading, because you're sitting there, not sitting, you're standing there, you're looking at the plant closely, you're enjoying the beauty, but you're also seeing what it needs. And if it's doing well, if you've got pests and all of that, it takes your mind off whatever worries, or if it's just overtired, and you start to just unwind. And that could be a huge benefit. So just enjoy and recognize that even if you didn't work, even if you sat out there, you take a cool drink, you have a bench, always have a bench or some kind of seating in your garden. You can take your beverage out there, sit down, and just enjoy listening to the birds. There's nothing like hearing the birds singing when you're out in your garden. And that alone, even bird song is known to reduce stress, reduce the cortisol levels in your body, and just bring that sense of pleasure. So there's so many things that they keep popping in my head as I'm going along here. And there's also social benefits to gardening, whether you join garden clubs or even Facebook groups, or there's, like, I joined the Rose Society. There's so many different ways that can help you to socialize, get to know maybe your neighbors that love gardening. It is socialization and sharing. You can join seed swaps where, like, if you bought a particular tomato, well, it might have 50 seeds in there. You're not going to grow 50 plants before those seeds kind of go over. But if you swap seeds, you can try many more and not spend the money. Varieties, I mean. So, yeah. So it's another benefit, having that socialization and learning from others or sharing with others. That's a boon to your mood and your health as well. That's it for this video, so please come on back. What's coming up next? I think I'm potting up some bare root phlox. I'm dividing a daisy and planting it. And I put out the begonia tubers so that they can sprout. Is that the ones? Oh, come on back to my next video, and I think this is the one coming up. I've got plenty on the shelf getting ready to be posted, but the 26 long blooming perennials that you can grow in your garden. And these are not like just a few weeks. I'm talking from early summer all the way until frost. So I have a video and a blog post on, I was just try to think if I had a blog post on it. I should. 17 perennials for spring blooming flowers. Now, these are not long blooming like my bearded irises. They bloom for several weeks, but not months. Now, this upcoming one will be, these perennials will start blooming in early summer all the way until your first frost. So that's coming up. So keep an eye out for that. So I'll see you then. Alrighty.